Hello. Welcome to my channel. I'm Carol Ann Maurer, aka Carol Ann Psychic Medium and Shamanic Healer, and Carnivore Carol. I wear many hats, as all of us do. But I do welcome you here today. I'm glad you're joining me. And I, I want you to stick with me here. We're going to share a little tidbit of a story. Um, you, if you're listening, may really appreciate and find some value in. I started this YouTube channel about 4+ years ago, but have never done a lot with it. And through the encouragement of other YouTube influencers and some of my clients and other mediums and healers, I've really been told and shared with that sharing my stories might help people. And that's what I do. I'm here to help you and anyone else who might be listening. I'm here to uplift people. I'm here to help you find alignment with your healing. So today I'm going to deviate from, if you've watched any of my previous videos, which I did some, 3-4 years ago. They're mostly about how to navigate a busy day, or how to connect with your angels, or channeled through Archangel Michael, or did a card reading. And I will still continue to do those because that's my passion. I really love giving readings and helping people through connecting them with their loved ones in spirit and their angels and their spirit guides. However, a big part of my story the past 7 years has been my carnivore journey. Yes, I am one of those who eats mostly meat and eggs for health reasons. And I haven't shared this. I mean, I could have started a channel years ago about carnivore before all these other wonderful carnivore influencers and doctors that are out there. But I was really a little shy about it because many of my friends and colleagues are highly plant-based and believe that that is the way to go, and don't want to hear about a different way of eating that is very foreign to them. However, it has really helped my journey of health and vitality and having the energy to give readings and give healings and be present for my family and my friends, and it's made a huge impact in my life. I wouldn't be where I am health-wise now if I hadn't made the switch. And I'm sharing this because I came from a very highly plant-based background, sometimes eating sad diet. What is sad diet? Standard American diet filled with processed foods and crap, right? And many times when I was attempting to be healthy, I did the whole low-fat spiel all those years. High carb, low fat. I also did, vegetarian numerous times. And even when I wasn't vegetarian, I was still highly plant-based because we've always been taught and told by mainstream media, by big food companies, by whatever experts we listen to, that that's healthier, right? So even when I wasn't just vegetarian, I would be eating fish or chicken, but rarely, if at all, over many years ate red meat, because I believed, as the mainstream doctors and healthcare practitioners scare us by telling us it's bad for us. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they're wrong. Almost 7 years now, eating mostly ruminant meats. That's beef, lamb. I sometimes will have chicken. I definitely include eggs, fish now and then, like salmon. I do like salmon, yes, or shrimp. But I would say my diet is 90% or more red meat, ruminant meat. And what does that involve? Ribeyes, fatty ground beef, burgers, some once in a while lamb, not very often, but once in a while, eggs, and any combination thereof. And like I said, once in a great while I'll have some chicken or some seafood, salmon and such. So for those of you that are really skeptical, I am just here today to open the doorway for you to have an open mind. Okay? It's good to be skeptical. I mean, as a medium and a healer and one who works in the field of woo-woo, I still am skeptical, right? It's good to be skeptical. But however, it's also good to have an open mind, take our blinders off, and look around us and see what other options are there. Okay? When I moved from Iowa to Arizona 7 years ago now, I've been here 7 years. I love it. You can see my beautiful bougainvillea behind me, my stucco wall, and this is February, early February, and it was 80 degrees today, blue sky, sunshine. Oh my God, just paradise. And I moved here for a myriad of reasons, and one of those was to have warmer weather. I lived all my life in the Midwest with, winters that, yes, snow is beautiful, but, many years of that, and I was ready for a change. And I've always loved the desert Southwest, and I'll tell you, the vibration here, the vortexes we find, not just in Sedona that everybody hears about, but here where I live in Arizona, is just amazing. And the animal life and plant life is so varied and so fascinating. I'll do some YouTubes about that. But I want to share with you, just encourage you to have an open mind. Now, why did I switch to this way of eating? Simply, I've tried it all since age 13. I dieted. And of course, back in those days, it was, calorie counting. You limit your calories. You limit your calories, and you up your exercise. So I used to do that. And then the low fat phase came around, and I bought into that. And high carb, low fat. Didn't matter if it had sugar in it, if it was low fat, right? The fat was bad. Red meat was bad. Animal fat was bad. And, all the fish, artificial, the seed oils, the margarines, I bought into that too. And then, of course, several times I was vegetarian, ate a lot of soy, tofu. Yeah, not so good for us. I didn't know. I was always a little bit ahead of the game. For instance, I was vegetarian before it became the thing to be vegetarian or vegan. I was always a little bit ahead. I went low fat before it became a mainstream thing. I always was just a little bit ahead of the edge of the curve. And the same is true now with my carnivore journey. I found, I'll just share a little story. I had only been here a couple months. I'd been to, I found a naturopath instead of allopathic medicine. I decided to try a naturopath who was working with me with low thyroid. I was having migraines. Can you relate to that? I was having joint pain. I'd already had surgery, rotator cuff surgery on my left shoulder, and my right shoulder was extremely painful and hard to move. And I'd always been athletic. I used to run marathons and teach kickboxing, aerobics, and lift weights, and my body was starting to fail me. It was very frustrating. If any of you have been, if not athletic, at least exercising all your life, whether it's walking, running, bicycling, lifting, swimming, whatever it is, and then now your body isn't letting you do those things. It's extremely frustrating, right? So that's where I was at. And so this naturopath was working with me, all the UTIs I was having, the hives I was getting, and all kinds of weird symptoms. Like I said, the thyroid was low, my libido was off, all those things. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you want to have good libido, right? So I was out for a walk, jog, run, listening to some summit. I don't remember if it was Shift Network or Hay House. It was one of those. And I was listening to two people at that time that I followed and respected. One was Dr. Perlmutter, a neurologist, and another one was a shaman teacher. I had taken a lot of his training with the Four Winds. And both of them were really touting the advantages of the ketogenic diet, the keto, as we call it, the keto diet, and why, the health benefits and how it really benefits the brain and can prevent right? And studies do show this now, can prevent, slow down, even stop or reverse the onset of dementia, Alzheimer's, and now it's even being shown, and I'll go into that in another YouTube, how it's helping people with all kinds of emotional mental disorders like bipolar and schizophrenia and depression and anxiety and so on. But at that time, I was just listening to them and to the other health benefits. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I am going to try this. I've tried everything else. I've tried Nutrisystem and Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and all those standard ones over the years. I've tried my own versions of low carb. I tried my own version of that. And, you know, you might lose the weight, which is what we used to think was important in your health. And it is to some degree, to a larger degree. But that isn't the only marker of health, right? So I would lose the weight and gain it back. And I never wanted to admit I was a yo-yo dieter, but here I was a yo-yo dieter. All right. So I decided to start keto. And of course, my naturopath was in favor of that. And it worked for a while. I actually did lose like 15 pounds, even though my main goals were to improve my health, to get my body working in homeostasis and equilibrium again, and also to find the energy to rebuild my business. I had left a very active healing arts practice in Iowa that was very regional, and now I'm starting again and moving my business online to reach people via phone and Zoom. That was before COVID, so it was before Zoom became wildly popular. I was using that to rebuild my business, but I just didn't have the energy, and I had the brain fog, and I had the headaches and those chronic fatigue, and just didn't want to do much during the day other than get out and get my walk, or if I could run, I'd do that, or a little bike ride, and then I was tired, didn't have that energy. So I started keto, and boy, the brain fog lifted right away, and my energy levels started coming back, and I started feeling pretty darn good on it. And that was in May of 2018. And kept going with it for a number of months, but I stalled. My health didn't keep improving. I still had headaches. I still had UTIs. I still had joint pain. Yes, my energy level had improved, and the brain fog had gone away. I had much more mental clarity. My moods had lifted. I wasn't so down. So it did help to some degree, but I also was, keto really should be a whole foods way of eating. But I was now making little mini breads using almond flour. I was using sun butter. I was eating way too much of the nuts. And that could be one reason why my weight stalled. But I still didn't feel my best. So we finally did some testing and discovered I had quite severe leaky gut, which I had suspected, and candida overgrowth. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Now my partner, Scott, he likes to research, and he was trying to support me in this journey. And he said, Carol, there's a subset of keto, of people that are doing what's called zero carb. I'm like, huh? And he told me about it. And I said, I'm at that point where I have a big why. I want to be healthy. I want to feel better so I can, be available for clients and be available for my family. My daughter and son-in-law had just had their first baby. It was my first grandchild, my granddaughter. And I want to be available. I wanted to be in good health so I could keep up with, my life, clients, family, and so on. So I have a big why, and that's important for you to pay attention to. If you want to change your, something in your life, do you have a big enough why? What's your why? Okay? So I decided, and my partner Scott said he'd do it with me, switch to zero carb. Now, what was zero carb at the time? At that time, it wasn't called carnivore or animal-based. It was simply a zero carb. And we found a plan from a dentist, Dr. Kevin Stock. He had a 3-tiered plan of how to move into eating zero carb. And we followed that. So the first month I ate anything animal-based. So that would be, dairy products like cheese and butter and, heavy cream in your coffee, eggs, all kinds of meat, any kinds of meat, whether it's bacon or chicken or fish or meat. And it still wasn't enough. I was still not budging the needle. So I said, okay, I need to skip the second tier, which is just giving up dairy, and just move to the third tier, which was red meat only, ruminant animal only, and see what that did. And that did the trick. I went to eating just red meat and water, gave up coffee, which isn't technically a carnivore, but many of us still eat some little bits of plant or drink some plant-based products. And coffee is one that I go in and out of at times. So I gave up everything, just red meat, salt. I currently use Redmond's real salt. I'm not advertising it. That's just what I use. And oh boy, and my naturopath warned me of this. I had a big healing crisis called a Herxheimer reaction. And for almost about 10 days, I felt pretty sick. I couldn't eat much, and had to stay near the toilet. But once I got past that, I had that big enough why, and I knew that once I got past that healing crisis, I would start to feel better. And sure enough, I did. And I started to feel better and better than I'd felt in a long time, and kept going at the 90-day mark. My goal was to go 90 days and reevaluate. I did that 3 months, 90 days. And at that 90-day mark, I am feeling a lot better. I still have cravings, but when I have a craving, I used to love breakfast foods like pancakes with butter and syrup, or muffins, and I used to love that stuff. And every now and then I'd get an overwhelming craving, because as your gut bacteria that used to feed off of those types of things, and the gut bacteria that liked the dairy, that liked, the sugars, that liked those things, is that they die off and get replaced with gut bacteria that feed off of meat. You get cravings, really big cravings. So I found by experimenting that if I just had some fat, when I would cook my burgers, and I still do this sometimes, I'll keep the liquid rendered fat. I used to call it my liquid gold, right? I would have some of that, right? And that, my cravings would go away. I also had to retrain, and still have this issue a bit. Still, it's so wired into me to push away from the table, not totally satiated. When you're always dieting, you have to push away from the table a little bit hungry. You have to be hungry a little bit. And that's why it's been wired into me. So I have to remind myself, even now, 7 years into this way of eating, to eat until I'm comfortably full. And then you're satiated for hours, even for the rest of the day. But at that time, so at 90 days, I said, I'm going to do this for 3 more months to the 6-month mark. At the 6-month mark, oh my gosh, I was feeling so good. I'd gotten off my thyroid medicine. I was no longer having migraines. The hives had gone away. I still had the joint pain. That was still there. But my energy level was wonderful. The UTIs, I wasn't having as many. There's a lot of the issues I was having were starting to go away. I hadn't lost any more weight. And we'll have a YouTube about that too, why someone on keto or carnivore may or may not lose weight, okay? So at the 6-month mark, I said, you know what? I'm just going to give this a whole year. And then I can take a look and see if I want to continue it. Because remember, whenever you make a change, it doesn't have to be forever unless you choose it, unless you go, wow, this is really working for me. why would I do anything different? And that's where I was at 6 months. So after about 6 months, maybe 7, 8 months in, I started intermittent fasting, which fasting, is wonderful for your body. It's extremely healthy for your body. Instead of doing all those weird detoxes like celery juicing or some weird concoction, just fasting for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever you choose, that will detox your body much better than any other fad or any other product somebody's trying to sell you. So pay attention to that it's free and easy to do, especially if you're fat adapted by eating a ketogenic diet. And ketogenic diet is high fat. So I was eating fatty meats. I was eating a high fat, zero carb way of eating. So I started intermittent fasting, and it was about 8 months into this journey. I was visiting my daughter and son-in-law, who at the time lived in Chicago, to help. I was going back and forth quite a bit to help with their new baby because they both had, busy careers. And I was at the point at that time where I could really couldn't move this shoulder barely above this. It was painful. And my partner Scott and I, who at that time I'm a massage therapist, and he was too at that time. And we were both really concerned that I was going to have frozen shoulder, and it was almost at that point. I woke up one morning when I was on my visit there to Chicago, and I had no joint pain. And I also had joint pain like in my, my neck, here, and low back, different areas where it's typical that people get joint pain, and my feet. I used to have a lot of pain in and out of the top of my foot, around the metatarsals and so on. I woke up and all my pain was gone. And I was like, really? And this arm was totally mobile and no pain whatsoever. I was like, how can this be? Absolute miracle. Well, a combination of eating an elimination diet, which you can also call carnivore, zero carb, elimination diet, where I'd eliminated anything with any toxins. And plants do have a lot of toxins in them, including oxalates, which I had started dumping those oxalates, those tiny crystals stuck in your joints. And I'll have a YouTube about that as well. My joint pain was gone, totally gone. To me, is a miracle. So I'm going to stop my story there because this video is long enough, but I just mainly want you to be aware that I could have been afraid to start that. It was a very different way of eating than what I had done all my life. Most of my friends and colleagues in the healing arts, because we're a bit brainwashed, and yes, I'm going to use that word, by experts in our field, that you need to be plant-based, that red meat is bad, and so on and so on. I broke that barrier. I said, I don't care what those people are saying. I need to try this for my health. And I did. And here I am 7 years later, almost 7 years later, still eating what now is called a carnivore way of eating. And currently I eat mostly still red meat, mostly. Today I had some chicken with a little bit of cheese wrapped up in one of those egg white wraps. It's kind of similar to a tortilla, but just made with egg whites. And tonight maybe I'll have a ribeye or a burger or something yummy like that. And no, I don't get tired of it. Here I am again, almost 7 years into it. And oh my gosh, the smell of steak or a burger cooking, just your mouth waters. I never get tired of it. I have, and I'll share this in other videos, I've experimented, and that's important, that you do experiment to see what works and doesn't work for you, and to not, again, have blinders on and go, I've got to stay in this lane. No, you don't. Experiment. See what you feel good on. Feel what doesn't work. Try what does. It just, it's an ongoing journey. There's some people in the carnivore community that are like, if you don't eat just red meat, you're not carnivore. Well, let's have some flexibility here. We're living life. And at least, I'm eating, I would say 99% carnivore at this point again. So, again, this video is to encourage you to not be afraid to try something different and look outside the box. Just because you've heard that you need fiber in your diet, do you? Who told you that? Where'd that come from? Research it. I'll have another video about fiber too, and why you may not need fiber, right? I haven't had fiber in 7 years, and look at me, I'm doing better than I have been in years, okay? So again, open your mind, be open to new possibilities. And yes, it's frightening sometimes to make such a big change, but you can do it temporarily. I always recommend when you're making a dietary change or any change, give it 90 days. Ease into it. Be easy on yourself. Have some fun with it. There's now lots of YouTubers out there with carnivore recipes. Yes, you can make carnivore pizza, you can make carnivore ice cream, all kinds of things. But I would suggest the first 90 days you stay pretty true to mostly red meat and eggs. Dr. Ken Berry, oh my goodness, look him up. He's wonderful. He coins it as the proper human diet, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I don't do bacon anymore, except once in a while when I ate out lunch with a friend the other day. I had a burger with cheese and bacon. I don't cook it at home anymore. I found I didn't feel as good when I ate a lot of bacon. But you might do fine, right? So, just be open. Reach out to those of us that have tried this. Reach out to all the YouTube influencers. There's so many now. When I started this way of eating, there was hardly any information 7 years ago about what is now called carnivore. Dr. Sean Baker coined the term carnivore. And Michaela Peterson coined the term lion diet. And lion diet is really only ruminant meat and water. And those of us that have had autoimmune issues, and yes, that's what was going on with me. I had autoimmune and still do, but it keeps the flare-ups at bay. And I'll go into that too in another video. So I hope you'll continue this journey with me. I am going to continue to talk about angels and guides and how to connect and how to communicate and how to raise your vibration, how to shift your vibration to call in your new lover. And I love helping and teaching those things. I do teach a lot of classes on Zoom, and I've now started creating digital classes. I created my first one, the 3 levels of Usui Reiki, digital, that you can download, and I'll have that in the show notes. But I just hope you'll follow my journey where I'm going to share not only the spiritual side, because we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, right? We're enjoying the both that spiritual side of us and the human side of us. But the human side of us needs the proper nutrients. And if you're not giving your body the proper nutrients to recover, to heal, to be in its best vibrational human state, your life can't flourish. You can't feel your best and be your best and give your best to the world. So I hope you'll continue to join me and follow my story. I'm going to continue to share tidbits about why I eat the way I do. And again, not telling you have to, not telling you you're wrong, just sharing information so you can make a more educated decision. So you can start doing your research and experiment and find if, keto works. I just had a friend from Iowa visit, has no interest in doing keto, although it would really help him. But I couldn't, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. I just backed off and went, nope, he's not ready, and he may never be ready. He's still in that old, low calorie, low fat stage, and that's just the way. My partner's mother is that way. We'd love to get her to switch to keto for her brain health, to prevent the little signs of memory loss that we see, and to hope that that's not leading to something bigger like dementia, Alzheimer's, to stop it. But You can't make people. All you can do is be an example of how wonderful you feel, how beautiful life can be when you don't have the depression, the anxiety, the brain fog. And you can really see the world in all its glorious beauty. So I know this has been a longer video, so thank you for hanging in there with me. And I will continue to create videos. I'm going to get out of my vulnerability and my shyness and do my best to at least put out a YouTube weekly, if not more often. And I really invite you to share this with your friends and like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye-bye.